Welcome to New York. Today we continue our quest to find cost-effective excursions and sightseeing in New York City. We'll be taking a New York ferry from the Wall Street Pier 11 ferry stop to the Soundview stop in the Bronx for a cost of $2.75. On the way, we'll pass the Financial District, the United Nations, the Governor's Residence, the Sanitation Plant, and Rikers Island Penitentiary. I'm sure there's a thread there that ties all those things together. We leave from the Wall Street Pier, which is at the east end of Wall Street, right in front of the Financial District. We board here. We sit upstairs because it's a bright, clear autumn day. The whole downtown area has changed significantly since 9/11, but the Federal Reserve is still there. It still has 40-odd tons of gold in the basement, and the downtown area is still a major financial hub. Coming up on the port side, or the left side, is the Seaport District. This is a nice area to just walk around. It can be a little expensive to go into all the attractions, but there are lots of free attractions there as well. We continue north with the first of many bridges that we go under is the Brooklyn Bridge, which of course is also the most famous, followed by its lesser known brother, the Manhattan Bridge. The Soundview Ferry route continues up the east side of Manhattan. We skip Collier's Point and go directly to Stuyvesant Cove ferry stop. We have fantastic views back towards the bridges and the Financial District as we go along the East River. Our first stop after leaving Wall Street is Stuyvesant Cove. This is an area on the east side which is not as prosperous as downtown. Population density is quite high though. We stop for just a couple of minutes at Stuyvesant Cove, and then we continue to proceed northwards up the east side of Manhattan. Next we're off to East 34th Street in Midtown. On the port side here is the old marine terminal, the marine aviation terminal should I say. And luck would have it, we actually have a seaplane here ready to fly out. This plane is operated by Tailwind Air, and they have direct flights between the East River here in New York and the South Harbour in Boston. Looks like he's taxiing out to take off just after we go past. This stop is the East 34th Street Pier, which is very convenient for access to Midtown. You would get off here if you wanted to go to, for instance, the Empire State Building or something like that. Again, we stop for just a few minutes here before continuing on to East 90th Street, which is next to the Governor's Mansion. Again on the port side is the United Nations building. Technically not part of New York City, as it was left in a bequest to the United Nations. Next bridge is the Queensboro Bridge, and right next to it is the cable car to Roosevelt Island. By the way, a pro tip. If you don't fancy taking the cable car across to Roosevelt Island, there is actually a subway stop. Just catch the F line. Next up off the port bow is the Rockefeller University building. It's a low-rise building and it stretches for a couple of blocks, so it must be worth a pretty penny. Also here in East Manhattan is the Sloan Kettering Cancer Center, New York Presbyterian Hospital, Cornell Medical School, so quite a bit of medical institutional places here. This covered expressway coming up on the port side is the FDR Drive, which runs the entire length of Manhattan's east side. After FDR Drive is East 90th Street, which is also the stop for the Governor's Mansion. There's a couple of nice little parks here, and unfortunately the sanitation department. After leaving East 90th Street, we head up the East River. The first bridge we come across is the Robert F. Kennedy Bridge, which is a major bridge across to Brooklyn. And the next is the Sydney Harbour Bridge. Well, at least it looks like it, to me. This is the Hellgate Bridge. This bridge was completed in 1917, which predates the Sydney Harbour Bridge, which was built in 1933. I think it's pretty obvious that the Sydney Harbour Bridge is a copy of this bridge. Coming up on the starboard side is Rikers Island, which is a penitentiary for New York, with many, many famous residents. Also on the right hand side is another New York ferry coming back from Soundview on its way back to the Wall Street pier. Straight ahead are two large bridges, the Whitestone Bridge and the Throgs Neck Bridge. We don't cross under either of those. Our final ferry stop is the Soundview Pier in the Bronx. This point is actually called Classens Point, and it's a small park which has music in the evenings in the summer and other activities. We're going to disembark here at Classens Point and have a little bit of a look around, not for too long. New York City is in the far distance. Well, the downtown is in the far distance. This Bronx is actually technically part of New York City. Embarkation and disembarkation on the New York ferries is nice and easy. You see people lined up here to get back on board for the trip back to the Wall Street Pier. So let's scoot along the pier and into the park and see what's going on. You can see that we're at the very northern end of the New York ferry system, up in Throgs Neck. Not a lot going on in the park at Classens Point. It's a Saturday afternoon. There's no music here yet. I do believe someone sets up in the evening and plays a little music. Just basically people chilling. We're under the flight path for LaGuardia, so flights are coming across every few minutes. Ferries are quite frequent, every 40 minutes or so. So let's jump back on the ferry and spend 50 minutes going back to Wall Street. A little bit more of a crowd, but nothing too much. There's a bike rack on the boat, so some people come up from the city and go biking around in the streets around here. The ferry looks like it's rocking a bit, but this is a pontoon pier, so it has a little bit of a swell, and then the ferry is just pulled up in its own wake. This one's actually running a couple of minutes late, so he was rushing a bit coming into the pier. Okay, the guy checked our tickets as we were standing in lines, so we just all jump aboard. It's free seating. Sit wherever you like, either indoors, outdoors. There's a little cafe on board. You can have a beer if you want. So it's all very pleasant. As I said before, we're a little late, so he's going back at a fair clip and much more windier than when we came up. There's Rikers Island again, another view of it. Before you know it, we're back at East 90th Street. A lot of people got on here. The waterway meets here, the East River and the Harlem River, and you can see it's a little bit rough. You don't really feel it on the boat though, it's still quite smooth. It is quite windy though, and quite crowded. So that's it essentially, 50 minutes each way, plus another half hour at Classens Point. So a couple of hours for a grand total of $5.50 per person, which is great value for New York City. The ferries are frequent and they run all year, so sure beats the subway. And this is what all the cool people do. Thanks a lot, and I hope you enjoyed this trip on the Soundview Ferry. Please remember to subscribe to my channel and hit like if you appreciate my content. It really helps me out. Thanks.